My name is Kurt Johnson, and this is my presentation on the Kingston fossil plant disaster in Tennessee. The Kingston fossil plant is in Roane County in eastern Tennessee. It's a coal-fired plant run by the Tennessee Valley Authority. It sits on the Emory and Clinch Rivers, part of the Tennessee River watershed. If something fails here, it goes straight into people's yards and the river system. This ties to Module 10 on water and watersheds. Coal ash is waste from burning coal for electricity. Power plants mix it with water and dump it into ponds. It's loaded with heavy metals like arsenic, lead, and mercury, so it's not harmless dust. This ties to Module 16 on energy and fossil fuels and Module 8 on environmental health hazards. Just after midnight on December 22, 2008, the dike holding Kingston's ash pond failed. A wave of ash slurry rushed out and flowed for about an hour into Swan Pond Creek and then the Emory River. Overnight, it became the largest coal ash spill in U.S. history, a clear Module 8 example of an environmental hazard. The numbers are huge. About 1.1 billion gallons of ash slurry were released. Around 5.4 million cubic yards and roughly 300 acres were buried, and at least a dozen homes were destroyed or badly damaged. This connects to sustainability and ecological footprint from Module 1 and the environmental impacts of energy use for Module 16. Ash covered parts of the creek, the Emory River, and nearby floodplains. Fine ash coated river bottoms and smothered habitat for fish, mussels, and invertebrates. One structural failure became an entire river problem. This matches Module 3 on ecosystems and food chains, and Module 7 on biodiversity and habitat loss. EPA and health agencies tested the water and the ash and found elevated metals in both. This ties into Module 10 on water pollutants and Module 8 on environmental toxicology and human health risk. Short term, the goal was to stabilize the site and clear the river. With EPA oversight, TVA dredged large amounts of ash out of the Emory River and shipped it to a landfill in Alabama. They also put in barriers and rerouted water to slow further spread of contamination. This connects to Module 10 with ideas like point source pollution and the Clean Water Act, and to Module 1 on applied science and using data to guide cleanup and policy. Cleanup took years. Crews reshaped land, capped the remaining ash, and set up long-term water monitoring. TVA has reported roughly $1 billion in cleanup costs, showing that cheap coal power creates expensive environmental and health costs later. This lines up with Module 16 on environmental impacts of energy and Module 1 on sustainability and long-term trade-offs. Many cleanup workers were told the ash wasn't dangerous and didn't consistently get proper protective gear. Over time, many developed cancers and lung issues. Families have linked dozens of deaths to ash exposure, leading to major lawsuits and settlements. This is straight out of Module 8 on environmental hazards and human health. Chronic exposure, toxic effects, and who actually absorbs the risk. The Riverside neighborhood near the plant basically disappeared. TVA bought out many homes and turned the area into open space and a park. People lost houses, community, and tax base. From an environmental justice angle, a rural community carried the risk and disruption while a big utility controlled decisions about waste storage and cleanup. That connects directly to Module 1 environmental justice and who benefits versus who pays. Investigations showed the ash pond had problems for decades, with leaks and repairs going back to the 1980s. Under the dike was a weak, saturated layer of ash that couldn't handle the weight of the stacked ponds. The core problem was poor design and risk management. This ties to Module 8 on risk assessment and the precautionary principle from Module 1, preventing disasters. After Kingston, the federal government took coal ash more seriously. The EPA created new rules for coal ash storage with stronger design standards, more monitoring, and closure of unsafe ponds. Coal ash still isn't labeled hazardous waste, but regulation is tighter than before. TVA also moved toward dry handling and closing of older impoundments. This links back to Module 10 on water laws like the Clean Water Act and Module 16 on energy policy. There are still hundreds of coal ash impoundments across the country. Some are old, unlined, and close to rivers or communities just like Kingston. With stronger storms and more flooding, the risk isn't gone. The safer move is to get ash out of vulnerable ponds and into lined, monitored storage, or to reuse it safely. This ties into Module 15 on climate change and extreme weather, and Module 16 on shifting away from high-risk fossil fuel systems. The Kingston disaster shows that energy choices, ecosystems, and human health are all connected. Coal power is cheap up front, but can create huge long-term costs. Storing toxic waste in unstable ponds next to water and homes is risky. Protecting workers and communities has to be built in from the start, not added after a disaster. This disaster ties back to a lot of our course. Sustainability and environmental justice from Module 1, ecosystems and biodiversity from Modules 3 and 7, water quality from Module 10, hazards and health from Module 8, and climate and energy from Modules 15 and 16. Here are the sources that I used. I went with government and institutional sources because they connect directly to the scientific and policy ideas we've been studying in these modules.